What is up, ladder climbers? Antoine Way here from Elevate to the Unknown, the Way Report in nextgenheights.com, and it is Monday, December the 15th, 2025, 7 a.m. Central. We are live on the Daily Climb, guys. This weekend, while you guys were sleeping, 3 bombs dropped. Bomb run. The VA, the Veteran Affairs Department, they announced that they are cutting 35,000 healthcare jobs this month. I want you guys to type 35K in the chat if that number shocks you. Okay. That's a lot of people. All right. And this is on top of the 30,000 that they cut earlier this year. So that's 65,000 total. Bomb number 2, Fed Chair Jerome Powell. At his press conference on last Tuesday, he admitted something that was actually stunning. He said job creation may actually be negative. I want you guys to type negative in the chat if you think job creation is already negative. And bomb number 3, Disney, the company that built on the animators. They just invested $1 billion in OpenAI to automate Hollywood. Ain't that something? Ain't that something? Okay. $1 billion to automate Hollywood. Tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern. The November jobs report, that drops as well. So we're going to find out if Powell was right about negative job creation. And today I'm going to show you the VA healthcare purge. 65,000 jobs gone this year. And why Powell admitted that we might be losing jobs and what that looks like for the real workers, you and me. And why Disney? They just bet 1 billion to replace Hollywood workers with AI. And the workers who escaped big tech and got paid even more. Guys, good to see you. Who's all in the house? I see you, Big Suggs. Good to see you, my man. Good to see you, Ant Dog. I'm coming in to you guys from the beautiful St. Louis. We are here on our holiday break. And you guys see it's a new setup. It's a new setup. We are making a migration to Wisconsin. We will finally be there on tomorrow. But this is what we do on an annual basis. So rock with me today, guys. Rock with me today. By the end of this show, I'm going to tell you guys that. By the end of the show, you will understand exactly what's happening, why the VA is cutting healthcare workers, why claiming that there will be no impact, excuse me, and care will be just as good, why the Fed chair thinks that job creation might be negative, and why Walt Disney went from AI skeptic because they were once saying that they weren't going to be investing a lot into AI, into investing $1 billion in OpenAI. And which side of the divide that you guys need to be on to position yourself. So, guys, this is the Daily Climb. It is Monday, December the 15th. The purge, the emission, the divide, and the choices that you need to make. Okay? Let's jump into the first segment, guys. Jump into the first segment. I got to make sure my camera is all right and stuff like that too, guys. So, um, I need to tell you guys about what happened this weekend. All right. Uh, this this weekend, while you guys were enjoying some time with your family, I was in a car driving full 6 hours yesterday, 7 hours on the day before. Reports started to come out from the Washington Post, then Reuters, then Forbes, then CNBC. The VA, the Veteran Affairs Department, is planning to eliminate as many as 35,000 jobs, and those are healthcare positions. And they're planning on doing it in December. Okay? That's a lot of people. Now, here's what's interesting. About 26,000 of those roles are vacant positions, right? So many people are going to be like, this is, 35,000 people that's getting ready to get cut. No, some of these jobs are vacant positions. About 26,000 of these jobs are vacant positions. They're not filled right now, but they are budgeted for. So if there means that there is our positions that's budgeted for, they should be hiring for these positions, meaning that there's a shortage of a lot of people in a VA. But That's not what's happening. The VA had the money to hire these people for these jobs, and now they're removing the positions entirely. That's what's happening. So they're making it so that they can't be filled. And this is on top of about 30,000 positions that they eliminated earlier in this year, in 2025 alone. So mostly they did that through buyouts and attrition. So the total for the year for the VA, that's 65,000 VA jobs gone. That's a lot of freaking jobs. And this brings the VA healthcare workforce down to about 372,000 employees, which is still a good sized workforce, but that's 10% below last year's level. Now, here's where it gets dark. All right. The VA spokesperson, Pete Kaperwitz, put out a statement that said this: removing vacant positions will not impact VA operations or the way that we deliver care to the veterans. If you are a veteran, you might have something to say about that. If you guys don't see and don't think it's going to make any impact, type no impact in the chat. If you believe that it will make an impact, type impact in the chat. Okay? I'm probably going to not see not that very many impacts. Because here's what else came out this weekend. A senior official from the American Federation of the Government Employees, the union that represents these workers, they told Forbes that the VA is already chronically understaffed and that removing these positions will force frontline staff to absorb more work, increasing burnout, increasing delays in care. So you see what's happening, right? More people, right, have to do more work. And they're going to force you to use AI to do that work. That's what's going to happen. And members of Congress, they are saying the same thing. They're arguing that removing the funded slots locks in smaller staff levels for next year. So even if the VA wants to hire more nurses or more doctors or more support staff later, they can't because the positions don't exist anymore. They don't have the budgets for it anymore. They're gone. They're eliminated. Now you can think about it. You can say one thing. You can say, "Hey, you know what? This is a business move, Antoine," and I completely understand because here's the thing, right? If you have 26,000 positions that's open and you didn't fill those in a year, were those positions really needed? Do those people even exist for the workforce, the size of the workforce that you have open to hire? That's the question that we have to ask ourselves. Let me put this into context, though. This VA decision is part of a bigger push by the Trump administration to shrink the federal workforce. We've been talking about that, Doge, all that sort of stuff this year, right? The big push when Trump was announced as president at the beginning of this year and took over presidency was Doge, the Department of Government Efficiency. This was something that was pretty much going to happen. And according to the Washington Post and other outlets, federal civilian layoffs and buyouts have affected about 10 to 12% of the 2.4 million person federal workforce this year. So that's roughly 300,000 federal jobs have been eliminated this year. So, and the VA cuts are being read as part of this whole push, the Doge push. Even though the VA officials say that these are just COVID era roles that are no longer necessary. You got unions, you got other advocates that say that they're cutting healthcare workers while veterans need care. Here's the thing that no one is going to talk about, though. Where do these healthcare workers go? If you are a nurse or a doctor or a support staff at the VA and your position gets eliminated, you can't just transfer to another VA job because these positions are gone too. So you go into the private sector. But we're in what the economists are calling the start of the fire market. If you work in healthcare, type healthcare in the chat. Type it in the chat. Tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we get the November jobs report. And I'm going to show you exactly why Fed Chair Jerome Powell just said something that should ultimately should, for the most part, terrify every worker in America. 35,000 VA healthcare jobs gone this month, 65,000 total this year. They say no impact on care. But the union says chronically understaffed, and tomorrow morning at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, we get the November jobs report. And that report will prove what's really happening, because Fed Chair Jerome Powell said it on Tuesday. And he said something stunning. And we're going to get into that when we come back, okay? Job creation. It might already be negative. I want you guys to stay with me on this second segment here, okay? And now I'm getting ready to show you guys why the Fed chair just admitted that we might already be losing jobs. All right. Last Tuesday, while I was in New York, traveling to New York, Fed Jerome Powell had their meeting, the Federal Reserve meeting, and they cut interest rates by 0.25%. Many of you guys heard that. I had a quick live stream conversation with you guys about it. But here's what's a bit different this time. We didn't get into the details of what else was said during that meeting. 3 members of the Federal Reserve, they dissented. That means 3 Fed officials disagreed with the decision to cut rates. That's the most internal opposition since 2019. So you got 3 dissents who basically said, okay, well, we don't agree with these rate cuts. And then at the press conference, after the decision, Fed Chair Jerome Powell said something that when I heard it, after having the chance to read a little bit of the news, I thought it was pretty stunning. A reporter asked him about the jobs market. And Powell said this: job creation may actually be negative. Job creation may actually be negative. Matter of fact, I'm going to let you guys listen to exactly what was said.
This is now the 3rd time that you've cut this year, and inflation is around 3%. So is the message that you're sort of trying to send with that you're okay with where inflation is for now, as long as people understand that at some point you still want to get back to 2% because inflation is relatively stable where it is?
Everyone should understand, and the surveys show that they do, that we're committed to 2% inflation, and we will deliver 2% inflation. But it's a complicated, unusual, difficult situation where the labor market is also under pressure, where job creation may actually be negative. Now, supply of workers has also gone way down, so the unemployment rate hasn't moved that much. But it's a labor market that seems to have significant downside risks. People care a lot about that. That's their jobs. That's their ability, if they get laid off or if they're entering the labor force, to find work. So that's really important to people. The story with inflation, and we're well aware that this is a story at this point, is that if you get away from tariffs, inflation is in the low 2s, right? So it's really tariffs that's causing most of the inflation overshoot. And we do think of those as likely to, in the current situation, as likely to be a one-time price increase. Our job is to make sure that it is, and we will do that job. But right now, you've got this difficult balance, and there are risks to both sides. There's no risk-free path. If it was just inflation and the labor market was just really strong, and then rates would be higher, as they were for more than a year. We didn't have to worry about inflation. Sorry, about the labor market, because the labor market unemployment was very low. If you remember when inflation was very high, there was a labor shortage, so we could focus entirely on inflation. Now it's different. We actually have risks to both. And I think we're doing the best we can for people. They also care about their jobs. They do care about affordability. And the best thing we can do there is both to support economic activity, but also, make sure that when tariff inflation goes down and disappears, inflation lands around 2%.
This is now.
So you guys heard it. Job creation may actually be at negative. Ain't that something? Jobs may not be being created. Job creation may actually be negative. And when accounting for data revisions, they may be negative. So the Fed chair just said we might already be losing jobs. He just said it, but we already know that that's already happening. Not low hiring, low firing, not stagnant, negative. And he said that they expect unemployment to reach 4.5% by the end of 2025. And then it may stay around 4.5% through 2026. So if it's at 4.5%, and the job market right now is pretty terrible for most people, right? And it's going to be like that in 2026. That's not good. That's not good at all. Now let me show you the data that's backing what Powell says up, okay? I want to show you some of this data here. The initial unemployment claims. For the week ending December the 6th, it jumped to 236,000. That's up 44,000 from the week before, which was 192,000. Okay? 192,000. Now, some analysts are saying part of this is Thanksgiving holiday distortions, but the 4-week moving average also rose to 216. Okay? So that shows underlying weakness in the jobs report. The second, the ADP report. That's the private sector payroll data. For November, private employers shed 32,000 jobs. We talked about that. And these are the small businesses. Companies with fewer than 50 employees. They lost 120,000 jobs. That's a lot of people. Meanwhile, the large businesses, companies with 500 employees or more, they added 39,000 jobs. So there's a pattern that's going on here. Small businesses are getting crushed. Large are gaining. Large are gaining. Let me show you what this looks like for real workers, okay? So I came across a couple articles this weekend. This weekend, Business Insider published an article called "The Year the Big Tech Job Market Cracked." You guys already know the tech market has been terrible this year. And what they basically did was they profiled real workers who are living through this situation right now. Story number 1, a guy by the name of James Wayne, age 27 years old. He lives in Michigan. He was a technical support engineer at Amazon. He got laid off in Amazon's 14,000 corporate job cuts that most recently happened. Since then, he applied to 100 jobs. Okay? And he told Business Insider this: the current job market has been crazy hard. Story number 2, Ian Carter. He lost his technical program manager position at Microsoft. He struggled to find a new job for several months. He drew on his savings to cover expenses, crossing his fingers that he'd land something soon, but he never did. And guess what he did? He moved back home with his parents. He put his stuff in his storage, his belongings in his storage, and moved to Florida to live with his family, helping to save money while continuing his job search. He told Business Insider this: rent is expensive, but rent without income coming in is doubly expensive. That's what he said. Now let me put this in context. Tech companies, they have announced 154,000 layoffs through November 2025. That's 17% more than last year. And it's the highest of any private sector industry. Big tech, giants like the Amazons, the Microsofts, the Apples, the Alphabets, the Metas, and Teslas, they have collectively cut more than 125,000 workers since 2022. And in 2025 alone, about 34,000 job cuts. So that's a 65% increase over the 2024 numbers. And here's the crazy part. The average job opening now receives 242 applications. So that's triple what it was in 2017. So the Business Insider article, they had a quote that sums it up. It feels like recruiters are looking for Superman. So you got Fed Chair Jerome Powell talking about job creation may be negative. Initial claims surged to 230,000, right? You got James from Amazon, 100 applications, 0 interviews. Ian from Microsoft depleted his savings, moved in with his family, 242 applications per job. Recruiters saying that they're looking for Superman. Ain't that something? That's crazy. And tomorrow morning, we're going to get the jobs report, the November jobs report. And that's going to prove whether Powell was right about if their jobs creation is actually negative, while workers are getting crushed. Okay? In this next segment, we're going to talk about Disney. Disney just bet $1 billion on replacing Hollywood with AI. I want you guys to stay with me on this segment right here, okay? Your guys' favorite company, Disney. Now I'm going to show you why Disney, the company that built on animations and your favorite cartoons, my kids' favorite cartoons, why they just invested $1 billion to automate them. They are going to automate the animators. So Wednesday, December the 11th, last week, Disney announced a massive deal, $1 billion equity in OpenAI. Okay? That's a lot of money. But it's not just the money. They also signed a 3-year licensing agreement for Sora. So that's OpenAI's AI video generation tool. And here's what's crazy about that. Disney is licensing more than 200 characters from Disney, from Marvel, from Pixar, and Star Wars. So, starting early 2026, anyone using Sora or ChatGPT images can generate videos in images featuring Mickey Mouse, Ariel, Cinderella, Iron Man, Black Panther, Darth Vader, Yoda. The agreement excludes actor likeness and voices, but it includes animated characters, costume props, and vehicles. Now let me show you what Disney CEO Bob Iger said. I'm a big fan of Bob Iger. Bob Iger has been there for a long time. He left and he came back. But he put out a statement that said this. This marks an important moment for our industry, and that Disney will thoughtfully and responsibly extend our storytelling through generative AI. And then he said this, while respecting and protecting creators in their works. That's what he said. So yeah. I mean, like, respecting their work. So what I'm hearing is getting ready to happen right now is Disney is becoming a major customer of OpenAI. They're going to use OpenAI's API to build new products, new tools, new experiences for Disney Plus. So that means AI is doing the work that humans used to do. That's what I'm hearing right now. That's what I'm hearing. So let's be clear about who's they're replacing. They're replacing animators. They're replacing video editors. They're replacing VXF artists. They're replacing content producers. That's who they're replacing. And here's what makes this even more concerning. OpenAI announced December the 12th, last Friday, that they built the Android version of Sora. And they did it in 28 days using Codex, the AI coding tool. 28 days to build Sora for Android. You know, Sora was only for Apple. I don't have an Apple phone. And now Sora is going to be for Android as well, too. So the speed of deployment equals the speed of replacement. Now, let me connect the dots for you guys on this one, okay? Let me connect the dots, because maybe you guys may not be following. And this is to the broader trend. A survey from November the 12th by AIResumeBidder.com. They found that 3 in 10 companies plan to replace employees with AI next year. And here's what's even more concerning. Jeffrey Hinton, he's called a godfather of AI. He won the Nobel Peace Prize for his work on AI. On December the 3rd, he gave a warning. He said this: massive unemployment is imminent. And a chief scientist, AI at Anthropic, another major AI company who owns Claude that we use every day, he warned that December 12th and December the 13th, basically this weekend, that humanity faces a critical decision by 2027 to 2030. He says, and this is on whether to allow AI models to train themselves. So here's the pattern. Disney, they were skeptical of AI for years, now $1 billion bet on AI. When the mouse changes directions, everyone follows. Disney, $1 billion to automate Hollywood Hinton. Hinton basically said this massive unemployment is imminent. 30% of companies are planning AI layoffs next year. The VA, 35,000 healthcare jobs are gone. Powell says job creation may be negative. James and Ian, they can't find work after hundreds of applications. And here's what nobody's telling you. Some workers are escaping this. And some of them are getting paid more. On this next segment, we're going to talk about some of these people who are actually making it in this economy. Because we're going to talk about the challenges that exist out there, but we're also going to give you guys the real solutions. Okay? Real quick, though, before we even get there. Before we get to the workers who are crushing it, check out the Patreon. Every Saturday, we go deep on exactly what's working, who's hiring, how to position yourself to the right side. Last week, what did we talk about on the Patreon last week? We talked about AI because I just came back from the AI summit. And there's a lot, I'm talking about a lot of anxiety around AI, but there's also a lot of energy around AI as well, too. There's going to be some people that win. There's going to be some people that lose. You just got to determine what side you're going to be on. Okay? Check out the Patreon, www.patreon.com/Black Heights. Okay? Link in the description of this video. Let's talk about the Great Divide now. All right? Jump into this next segment. I'm getting ready to show you guys the workers who escape and what you can learn from these guys. So there are two Americas that's happening right now. The divide is pretty clear. And it's happening in the job market. The side one, there's the 35,000 VA cuts. Right? The people who aren't getting jobs, the people who are getting laid off. Plus the big tech cuts. Plus the people who are competing with 242 applications per job. Plus the Superman standards. Plus James, 100 apps, 0 interviews. Plus Ian depleted his savings. Now he's negative. That's side one. Then that may be your reality. That's your reality. Type side one in the chat. And there's side two. $100 million signing bonuses. Hand-delivered suit. We talked about that. $173,000 cars that's being given to people at companies. Workers escaping and getting paid more. That's side two. Which side are you going to be on? Let's talk about Lee Gibbons. I came across Lee Gibbons' story in Business Insider. But Lee worked at some of the biggest tech companies in the world. Microsoft, he worked at Meta. He worked at Apple as well, too. In September of 2024, he lost his job. He lost a contract role at Apple. And at first, he focused his job search only on big tech companies. Similar companies, similar roles. But he couldn't gain any traction at all. Okay? So, Lee did something different. He stopped limiting his search to the big tech companies, and in April of 2025, he landed a product manager role. And he landed at Toyota. We talked about Lee before. I wanted to bring Lee back up because it shows that you can pivot from big tech to other industries, and that's exactly what Lee did. I mean, here's the crazy part about it. Lee told Business Insider that his total compensation at Toyota, it went up. It was significantly higher than it was when he was working at Apple. And he feels like right now he's making more of an impact at Toyota than he could at any sort of larger AI tech company, tech corporation out there. So the point here is that Lee Evans, he stopped limiting himself to big tech companies. Although he worked at some of these bigger, tech companies with the bigger names, he saw opportunities to explore other industries. And some of those other industries were paying him a lot more. And not only that, he likes his work. Now let me tell you about Kelly Weathers. Okay, I came across her story as well. Kelly is 36 years old, lives outside of Detroit. She got laid off from tech 3 times. Not 1 time, not 2 times, 3 times. Okay, she got laid off 3 times. So we was sure while she was still working in tech, she started a side hustle. Basically a yoga mat company called Carmi. And it was named after her mom, Caroline Mulligan. So she designed the mats, ordered 250 of them. And the day her yoga mats got delivered to her house, she got laid off again for the 4th time. And she looked at the boxes in her house and she said this is a sign. Go all in. And guess what she did within a month? She sold out. All 250 mats. And then things got crazy. She reached out to style editors and Vogue magazine. Guess what they did? They featured her mat inside of the magazine with Hailey Bieber on it. Okay? Then GQ wrote about Carmi. Then she got into Goop. Then she got into anthropology in Europe. And Kelly told Business Insider something that you guys need to hear. She said this: people talk about corporate life giving you security. You're handing over your control, your finances, your future, and it's still a gamble. That's what she said. It's still a gamble. Kelly's company was profitable from day one. She went out there and did it on her own. Ain't that something? I love the fact that she had a side hustle on the side. Got laid off 4 times, guys. 4 times in big tech. Now I want to shift to another one. Let me tell you and give you some December hiring intelligence. Business Insider published an article December the 14th, which was on Saturday. I was actually on yesterday. Okay? They called it "Don't Fall for the Myth" that no one hires during the holidays. And they talked about recruiters and hiring managers, about what's really happening in December. Here's what they found. First, the number of applicants dropped 20 to 25% in December. Okay, that's what they found out. The number of applicants dropped in December. Now, why does it drop? Because most job seekers think that no one hires during the holidays, so they pause their search. But recruiters say hiring holds steady. Nicole Fernandez, she's a lead talent acquisition partner at Royal Caribbean Group. She said this: they need to use it or lose it. So this is still a pretty hard-working time for recruitment teams. Brian Fink, he's an independent recruiter in Georgia. He said this: employers want to start 2026 ready. They don't want to start recruiting in January. They want to start running a race in 2026 on the first day. And then they profiled a hiring manager named Aaron Roberts. His work at JLL, that's a commercial real estate company. He has more than 50 openings he's looking to fill in California. 50 openings right now that's open. He said he anticipates filling at least a third by the new year. So his own company is proof. He applied for his current position at JLL just before Thanksgiving in 2019. He did several rounds of interviews in December. His last interview took place 5 days before Christmas. So that's December the 20th. That's 5 days from now. And he got his job. So Lee, he stopped competing with 242 people and got paid more at Toyota. Kelly went through 3 layoffs, built her own thing, was featured in Vogue magazine, December 2025, right? Managers filling 50 roles before the new year. The divide is real, guys. And you get to choose which side you're on. Now, let me give you 5 moves that you can make this week in order for you to have success. Okay? I want you guys to stay with me in this next segment. But before we position the moves, do me a favor. If you want this intelligence sent to your inbox, if you want it every single day, Monday through Friday, we send it out at 11 a.m. Central. Subscribe to the free newsletter. We're going to give you the newsletter for today's show. We're going to be talking about the 35,000 VA cuts, Powell's admission, Disney $1 billion in OpenAI, James and Ian's struggle. You will get the full recap in your inbox at 11:30 a.m. Central. Check out the link to the newsletter in the description of this video. Okay? Now let's move on to the next segment. Now I'm going to give you guys your positioning moves for this week. Powell says this: job creation may be negative. Tomorrow, 8:30 a.m., we're going to get proof because the job reports numbers are going to be coming out. We're going to find out. Disney, they're betting $1 billion on automation. 30% of companies are planning AI layoffs in 2026. And we are already in a terrible job market, and you got 30% of companies already talking about layoffs for 2026, guys. So it's only going to get worse. But here's the thing: Lee got paid more. Kelly got into Vogue. December has 20 to 25% less competition. These 5 moves that I'm getting ready to share with you will position you on the right side. Move number 1. Okay? If you're looking to get into a new company, you're looking to increase your earnings, apply in December, not January. 20 to 25% fewer applicants because people think that nobody hires in December. You already heard the stories that people hire in December. Choose to do so. This is intelligence that you can use so that you can apply to jobs in December. Managers have use it or lose it budgets, so they're going to spend the money. JLL has 50 openings to fill by the new year. Competition will explode further in January. That's when everybody else returns from the new year. Next, you know, they're going to have New Year's resolutions. You're going to have new job seekers, and all that stuff is going to flood the market, and you're going to have way more competition. So if you're looking for a new job, go ahead and start looking at that today. Okay, move number 2. Job hunt 2 hours a day, not 8. And this comes from the outplacement advisor for workers who got laid off from Ames Bank. He said, don't grind 8 hours a day and show up to interviews exhausted and defeated. Spend 2 hours applying. The rest of the time, you want to stay fresh. So if you are a person who is full-time unemployed, you don't want to spend 8 hours a day. He's basically saying, now, I don't necessarily agree with that. Because if you don't have any job, you should be out there trying to get some work. And you should spend as much time as possible to try to get work. Is that this applying to jobs online? I don't think that's the right way to go. You already know that. But that's what the data is basically showing. Don't spend 8 hours a day grinding it out, applying online. Move number 3, pivot outside big tech. Okay. If you've applied to 100 jobs in big tech, maybe it's time for you to go somewhere else. Stop competing with the 242 applicants. Look at Toyota. Look at Nissan. Look at Hyundai. Look at other industries as a point. Look at automotive tech. Look at manufacturing tech. Look at healthcare tech. Look at supply chain tech. Then pivot. Move number 4. Microsoft Ignite. Deadline is today. Okay? The deadline today for Microsoft Ignite is today. 5,000 vouchers for 50% off any Microsoft certification. Complete any of the Ignite challenges by the end of the day today. Enter to win. And move number 5. Southwest Airlines out of Austin. Guess what they're doing? 2,000 new jobs have been created. Southwest Airlines. Consider Southwest Airlines. Some jobs averaging 180K. Opening in March 2026. Pilots, flight attendants. They're expanding in Austin. Opportunities for you if you're in that industry. The question is, which side would you be on? I want you guys to type side 2 in the chat if you position yourself for value. All right. I'm going to bring this home real quick. I'm using new software too, guys. I'm using Ecamm because I'm on my Mac. Check out my Mac, guys. By the way, I dented this thing this past weekend, and I am so upset. I got to go to AppleCare when I get to Wisconsin. Get it fixed. But this is Monday, December the 15th, 2025. This weekend, the VA cut 35,000 healthcare jobs, 65,000 total this year. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said this job creation may be negative. Disney, they are investing $1 billion to automate Hollywood. James, used to work at Amazon, 100 applications, 0 interviews. Ian, Microsoft, and inflated his savings, moved home with his family. There's 242 apps per job, and there's a Superman standard out there. But Lee, guess what Lee did? He moved from big tech to Toyota, got paid more. Kelly went through 3 rounds of layoffs, got into Vogue. Now she's selling yoga mats, making all kinds of money. December, 20% less job competition if you apply to jobs in December, guys. Tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Eastern, the November jobs report comes out. It's going to be about 7:30 our time. Okay? 2 months of data. Because of the shutdown, we're going to see if Jerome Powell was right about the negative job reports. Your choice. Keep applying to big tech with only 242 applicants, which is a lot. Or you can wait till January when the competition explodes. Or you can start doing it now and apply now. Apply to those 50 JLL positions. Look at Toyota. Look at supply chain tech. Look at manufacturing tech. Spend 2 hours applying. Start doing it today if that's what you're looking to do in the 2025. By the way, if this has helped you, if this helped you see the reality of what's going on in the markets today, make sure you hit the like button. Subscribe if you haven't done so yet. We go live every single weekday, 7 a.m. Central, Monday through Friday. Check out the newsletter. You get the full recap in your inbox. You get it today at 11:30 a.m. Central. Guys, this is the Daily Climb. Microsoft certifications. The deadline is today, Microsoft Ignite. Tomorrow at 8:30 a.m. Central, the job reports are going to be out there. Choose intelligence over emotion. Make sure you make the right decisions, okay? Good to see you, Big Subs. Good to see you, Jerome. Jerome got himself a new MacBook, guys. Jerome got himself a new MacBook. MJ Cannabis says, banking and medical looking for roles in data and infrastructure. That's big time. The Life of Cam says, if this breakdown is useful, hit the like button. I appreciate that, Life of Cam. Big Sub says, bet on yourself, man. I hear you. I absolutely hear you. You got to bet on yourself, man. Who else is in that? Oman Nike 88. Congratulations, he says to Ricky. Ricky, what's going on, Ricky? Ricky, where you go, man? Ricky, you got a new job? Let me see if I can see the comments from Ricky. I'm on this new software. It's very difficult for me to see exactly what's going on in the chats. Yep. I appreciate you guys, man. Guys, enjoy your day. We're going to continue to leverage this eCam software. I got to get this whole thing figured out. I think I have a pretty good pulse on it, though. But, guys, thank you so much for your support. We will see you tomorrow morning at 7 a.m. Central. We'll be coming to you from here in St. Louis again, and then on Wednesday we will be in Wisconsin. Guys, enjoy the rest of your day. We'll catch up later, okay? Bye-bye now. Ricky said he's done Oracle. I appreciate that, Nike. Yeah. Can you get that Oracle certification, Ricky? Good stuff,